Jack was appointed president in 1970 on an interim basis and served as CMC's chief executive officer through the summer of 1999, being appointed full president in February of 1971. During his time, the endowment grew from $10 million to more than $350 million. He led the college to exceptional growth and reputation, academic quality, and student selectivity, amongst many other things. Under Stark's leadership, CMC expanded its influence in public affairs through the creation of 9 public policy research institutes. In 1976, CMC marked its 30th anniversary by becoming coeducational. And in 1981, CMC's name was changed to Claremont McKenna College, honoring founding trustee Donald C. McKenna. I am thrilled to have both of you here with us. Thank you for taking the time out of your retirement. I know you relish having a lot of visitors join you in retirement. So I'm very pleased that you continue to give back to CMC in numerous ways. Of course, Jack is also a trustee of the college still. And Jack, thank you for your service, both as an alumnus, as an employee, as president, and of course now as a trustee of the college as well. Everyone knows Jil Stark, of course, in many ways. Of course, the first lady of the college, also the director of the Marion Minor Cook Athenaeum, and an absolute beloved first lady. In fact, if you haven't seen her bust in front of the Athenaeum, please make sure to see it next time you're on campus. It is truly regal. Jack and Jil, again, thank you for being here. I would love to start, Jack, with maybe a little background on how you started working at CMC. So a little bit of the pre-presidency. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I graduated from CMC in 57, joined the Marine Corps, and in 58, the day after she graduated from Scripps, I married Jil, and we spent our time as Marine infantry officers, mostly at Camp Pendleton, sometime on the East Coast. In the early 60s, I was due to get out at the end of 1960. I decided I would go on and get an MBA. And I was up at CMC, arranged to have my transcript sent to both Berkeley and Stanford, and ran into George Benson. And he said, we've been looking for somebody like you to come and operate the Alumni Association and the Career Counseling and Placement, a few other jobs. And why don't you do that? And you could get your MBA at the graduate school. Well, I had a wife, by that time a child, and no money. So that seemed like a reasonable thing to do. So we started to work for CMC on January 1, 1961. Jill went to work at Scripps. I think our babysitter made more than she did, but she had a good time there. And I was initially alumni director, career counseling and placement. The whole administration was 2 people in development, 2 people in admission, because we did admission for Harvey Mudd, 1 dean of students, and a dean of faculty. That was pretty much the administration. Since I was the youngest guy there, I kept inheriting new jobs. So George came in and he asked me to do a little work on a proposal to the Ford Foundation, do a back cast of CMC. Then he came in and said, look, we should do a proposal for a new college. I want you to make a proposal for a new college. So I said, Dr. Benson, I don't know anything about this. So he handed me a book. So I wrote the proposal that went to the Ford Foundation that ultimately funded Pitzer College. They got the money, had to be matched. George went to R.K. Pitzer, who was our biggest donor, and asked him to give the money to Pitzer that started Pitzer College. That gift would have just about doubled the endowment that we had. There's very few presidents who are willing to sacrifice that kind of gift to start a new college, but George was very committed to the group. So when Pittsburgh came along, the central facilities decided that they could never, every college had to have its own financial officer. So I also became the financial officer. I was doing alumni placement, chief financial officer, heading up new buildings. George decided to grow from 400 to 800 during the 60s. I was kind of working 7 days a week from dawn to dusk. So I quit going to school. Was having a good time. We were enjoying ourselves.
We were having babies.
Jill was having babies. Then I got an offer to go somewhere else at double my pay. And I knew George couldn't pay me that because it was roughly what he was being paid. So I went in and said, Dr. Benson, I'm not motivated by money, but if I'm going to stay in this educational business, I need to get some experience other than CMC. Will you give me a sabbatical? He said, yes, I'll give you a sabbatical. So he raised my pay, $2,000 from 12 to 14,000. And I applied to Oxford, got accepted to Oxford. And then mid-year, George decided to leave CMC and go back. It was a rough time in the late 60s, and become Under Deputy Secretary of Defense for Education. So ROTC reported to him. CMC hired Howard Neville. And Howard said, look, Stark, you're doing too many things. Give me 1 year and then take your sabbatical. So that seemed reasonable. So Howard's year was a pretty tough year. And things were a lot of turmoil on campus during the late 60s and early 70s. A lot of broken windows, a lot of protests in Vietnam. We got especially a lot of protests because the former president was the head of ROTC nationally. And the day before the annual meeting, Howard called board chairman and said, tomorrow I'm resigning. Well, Jill and I thought we were going to Oxford. So we had leased our house, had made a down payment on a flat in Oxford. We were on our way. And a few days later, Tom Lowe, who was vice chairman of the board, called and said, we would like you to be acting president. So I came home and said, Jill, we're going to have to postpone Oxford again. We're going to take on being acting president. We're going to have a lot of fun at that. And so that's how I got to be acting president at CMC. And we decided that rather than just kind of sit on the situation, that we needed to be very active. So we started meeting with students in the evening, which was the forerunner of the Athenaeum. We started spending a lot of time on campus. We proposed, there's Lori, we proposed a number of institutes. We started study abroad. We initiated the Washington program, and I became a candidate for regular president. They brought in other candidates, and much to my surprise, I was, in February of '71, made the real president of CMC. Now, in some ways, it was easy to make me acting president. I'd done a lot of different things, and no one thought I would be president. I didn't think I was going to be president, so I was not controversial. And to think that the board would make a decision to hire a man who was by that time 36, had never been any place but Claremont and the Marine Corps, and make me president is kind of an amazing board decision. I guess they thought my Marine Corps experience would help me handle the turmoil on campus better than a PhD from someplace would. Anyhow, that's how we got started to be the president of CMC. And it's been a great, great experience.
Thanks, Jack. First question, probably a short one. Did you actually apply for the position? Were you a part of the interview process, or later in February when you were made full president, was it just a decision of the board without you putting in an application?
You mean, how did they go about the process of making me president?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a full search. They brought in several candidates. One of them later became a president of another college, which we got to know pretty well. They also brought in Irving Kristol, which is a name you may not recognize, but he was a fairly important East Coast intellectual as a potential candidate. So there were about 3 or 4 candidates besides myself.
So you were
active in the process.
You put yourself in the pool from the beginning. You made it known that you wanted the role. Yeah. So what was 1970 like, Jack? You started in the, what was 1970 like? So you're in the position. Howard, President Neville left.
Remember, this was
turmoil.
a time of great protest. There were, we had a lot of broken windows. They attempted to firebomb the ROTC unit. They threw a Molotov cocktail through the window. Actually started a fire. The fire extinguishers put the flame out. I then went to the ROTC classrooms and the offices and replaced the glass with plexiglass so they couldn't throw Molotov cocktail through the windows. We had an attempted set Marks Hall on fire. The lounge was set on fire. Story House burnt down. It was a time of real turmoil on our campus and much throughout the nation. We were never had a sit-in, which the other campuses had, but it was an exciting time. Now, all that kind of went away in 1972 when Richard Nixon ended the draft. Remember that this turmoil, Lyndon Johnson, who loved being president, decided he wouldn't run again because of all the turmoil on the campuses. Nixon became president and he terminated the draft in 72, late 72. And as far as the campuses were concerned, most of the turmoil went away with that.
And at any point, I know ROTC was controversial to some. Did you or CMC ever consider no longer being an ROTC host college?
No. We inherited ROTC in 1968. Pomona was not eager to keep it. We were very big supporters of ROTC. Remember, CMC started on the GI Bill. Most of the early candidates and students at CMC were ex-GIs. We had no money to start. And so it was the GI Bill that really funded CMC. So we were very dedicated to that issue. And actually, I became the head college representative to the National ROTC Association. No, we never considered dropping ROTC. Actually, Pomona did drop ROTC, and we were the only people in town who had it.
And we still have ROTC, and we're still very strong supporters. So
still
very much still
issue.
connected to our history there. So thank you. So things calmed down a little bit in 1972, and you've now been full president for a little over a year, and all of a sudden you decide, you know what, we're going to think about going coeducational. And of course, we started the conversation in 75 and went co-ed in 76, but you're still a relatively new president, and you spent so many years as alumni director, and suddenly you decide with others and the help of others that CMC needs to take this step. Walk us through a little bit about your decision process and the process to go co-ed.
Oh, it wasn't exactly a unique decision. Now, most of the single sex male colleges were either considering that or had gone co-ed. That particularly true on the East Coast. Princeton had gone co-ed. Williams, Amherst had gone co-ed. We thought it was time to look at that issue. I brought it up to the board, and the board decided that there were actually 3 possibilities. One, we could stay single sex, all male. 2, we could make some kind of an arrangement with Scripps with a coordinated college, kind of like the Harvard Radcliffe kind of arrangement. And 3, we could go co-ed. So the first thing we did was meet with Scripps College, the trustees, and Scripps was not interested in becoming engaged. They had more money than we did. They academically were ahead of us. And this was not something they were interested in. So that gave us 2 issues. Stay single sex, or go co-ed. And we spent a great deal of time deciding how we would decide. And that sounds like a waste of time, but actually it isn't. If everyone agrees that the process is fair, then it's very hard to be against the ultimate decision. So we decided, number 1, it would take a 2/3 vote. We wouldn't go co-ed on a simple majority. 2, we would not change our curriculum. We would search for women who wanted to study what we had to offer. 3, we would not initially change the name. So with that procedure, we invited leadership from Haverford, who was in the process of making the decision. It was fairly simple, similar to us. They had an arrangement with Bryn Mawr. We invited Wabash College to send their vice president out. Wabash had decided to stay single sex all male. And we invited the leadership of Williams to come out, who had decided to go co-ed. So they all 3 spoke at a campus retreat. We wrote a number of proposition papers. We took a vote of everybody we could think of as advice to the board, the Alumni Association, the student body, the faculty. And then we got to making the final decision. We reached the 2/3 majority by 1 vote. 1 vote. But those who were on the opposite side felt the process had been fair. And those who thought we should stay all male thought, well, we're still Claremont Men's College. So in a couple of years, it'll be clear that this was a bad decision and we can go back to being all male. So we really didn't have any fallout from the board. And although I'm sure there were some alumni who thought we had made a bad decision, generally that year, the first year we went co-ed, the Alumni Association made a record in participation. So it really went quite smoothly. The other thing that would helped us immensely is the women we recruited were terrific. There were only about 25% of the class were women. We took the best students. We didn't make a special, we didn't decrease our quality to take women. We just took the best students, and we got a group of terrific women who came in, and they were real pioneers. And they came in under the name Claremont McKenna Claremont Men's College, and grew to really love that name. When it became time to change the name 4 years later, we proposed the name Claremont McKenna College. The enrolled women preferred to stay Claremont Men's College. And we gave students who were enrolled a choice. They could have either Claremont Men's College on their diploma or Claremont McKenna College on their diploma. most of the men decided to take Claremont McKenna. All of the women decided they wanted their diploma to say Claremont Men's College. This was quite a group. And of course, you had the early women on one of these Zoom meetings, and they told how they were in the dormitory and there was a urinal, and we couldn't take it out because had to change all the plumbing, and so they put potted plants in the urinal, which would automatically water them. And they were terrific. I'm very fond of those initial women who came to CMC.
That's fantastic. And I know you mentioned Scripps College and teaming up with Scripps College. I know we have a former Scripps president on the call, Fritz Weiss. So Fritz is here. Hi, Fritz. Longtime CMC employee as well, and then president of Scripps College. What had to have been somewhere around 10 or 11 years ago. I wanted to ask Jil a question. Jil, can you hear me?
Yep. So
talk to us about your thoughts about the college going co-ed. You're a Scripps alumna. You'd worked at Scripps. What did you think about CMC going co-ed? Should it have stayed a men's college south of 9th Street and a women's college north of 9th Street? Where did you fall there?
Well, those of you who know me know I'm pretty competitive. And when the Scripps people turned down CMC cold, not wanting to even discuss it, I thought, that's sort of too bad, girls. And I had been dean of freshmen at Scripps for 10 years. And when Harvey Mudd started, the Harvey Mudd women lived at Scripps, and they were very unhappy. Their program was very different than the Scripps program. I mean, they were in math and science. Scripps didn't have a science department. It was more arts and humanities. So the women there were not, that was bad. And I remember visiting the president of Harvey Mudd, not telling my boss that I was going to do it, and telling him, Joe Platt, that this was a mistake. So the minute CMC mentioned having women stay at Scripps, I really made my voice heard. We had, to my joy, a number of Scripps women who transferred to CMC. They didn't offer economics, science, a strong math program. And so the beginning class had a number of Scripps transfers. So I was very excited. I mean, I just thought it was great. The only thing that bothered me was trying to get to all the women's athletic events with my kids as the men's. So no, I thought it was a great decision. And within the first 4 years, the student body president, Meredith Ullman, was a woman. So it just took them.
She was senior class president.
Oh, sorry. Senior class president was a woman, Meredith Ullman. So didn't take long for them to become the leaders.
Well, you mentioned before that kind of a precursor to the Athenaeum was you having conversations in the early 70s with students at your home or office. The Mary Minor Cook Athenaeum opened up in 1983. Jil, you're a former director of the Athenaeum. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of the Athenaeum and of creating the Athenaeum during your presidency, the Athenaeum in its current form during your presidency.
During my tenure at Scripps, they cut back on a number of things, like served dinners. They were abolished. We used to have them in each of the dining halls, and tea every day. And I had given my Rice Krispie recipe to Scripps for tea. So when Jack became president, he said, this is going to be so much fun for you because you're going to get to start the things that Scripps stopped, and you're going to be very involved with the Athenaeum. So right from the start, it was tea every day with homemade cookies and tablecloths on the table with nice china and really fun meals, because we were able, the college was very generous from day one. We got our own cook and our own pastry person, and we just went to work. One of our faculty wives headed up the Athenaeum at that time, Bonnie Lofgren, and we just had a ball. It was so much fun. And the first thing I wanted to do was to have a woman speaker at the Athenaeum after we had really establishment in the old president's house. And so we had Arlene Bloom, who with a team of scientists from Berkeley had just gone up Annapurna and a big mountain in the Himalayas, the second highest. And I was just beside myself because I didn't think CMC probably had ever had a woman speaker. And she arrives, and the CMC students just are a big crack up. They're so funny. They arrived and gave Arlene Bloom and her team a shirt that said "A woman's place is on the top." And they wore those, and in the back it said "Go" on the top. And then they had a little mountain, a little castle, a little banner that said Scripps College. And we got into so much trouble. I mean, the Scripps dean was having nothing of that. So the t-shirts were to be abolished. The next day, after Arlene had left, new t-shirts. "A woman's place is on the top." Yeah, on the back, it says "Go explore the frigid north." And on top, little castle, little banner, Scripps College. The students, the best thing I think about CMC is how student oriented it is. The Athenaeum started as a student program, and it's still a student program. Where else do students run the show, choose a lot of the speakers with the help of faculty and Priya, the staff, but still they're there, the host and hostesses. It's just fantastic. I just think CMC is better than any other college, training leaders for the future and good followers.
Thank you. You are competitive. It's very true. It's a good way to discuss Jill. Jack, did you need to be convinced to create the Marian Minor Cook Athenaeum? That was certainly a large fundraising project. Where did you kind of fit into the establishment of the Athenaeum as it is currently today?
Were you convinced to start it? Sure. The Athenaeum.
Yeah, we started the Athenaeum really, it was an outgrowth of trying to be close to students. And we first had not full dinners, but little evening meetings with cocoa and cookies. And that then evolved into the Athenaeum. And clearly one of the signature issues of CMC. It was, we started it then in the president's house, enlarged the president's house, then outgrew that, and then raised the money for the Marian Minor Cook Athenaeum. And actually were able to raise enough money for endowment that the pretty much endows the speakers program at the Athenaeum. So it's a great addition.
And Marian Minor Cook's husband was a Scripps trustee, and he felt that there wasn't a balanced program there. And once he said to me, "You need to get in touch with us because I hear you have a program, and my wife would be very interested in supporting it." And so Marian Minor Cook became a trustee at CMC and supported the Athenaeum.
I don't think Scripps was particularly happy that we got most of them a lot more money from their trustee than they did, but that's the way life goes.
Very true. Well, thank you both for starting the Athenaeum. It's of course one of the many reasons that prospective students choose CMC. It is so unbelievably unique, and the diverse speakers, people with viewpoints on both sides of the aisle, are still very present at CMC, and it's probably the only institution really in the country that is so committed to what we call the open academy, bringing diverse viewpoints and diverse faculty to campus. So thank you both for being such visionaries there.
Well, and also it's wonderful that, you know, over the years, goals in colleges change, and that this has been so accepted by all the administrations that have come after us. That's just marvelous, I think.
CMC has been very loyal to its original founding, which is also unusual. I mean, it's a focused liberal arts college. We have maintained that focus, and I think that's a great strength of the college. One other thing I want to say, Jill wanted me to mention this. When I became acting president, I had this call from Tom Lowe, and he said, look, we want you to be acting president. We want to pay you $24,000. And I said, well, that's terrific. So I started getting that equivalent. Then when I became president, he called me again and said, look, I would like you to be regular president. We're going to raise your pay to $25,000. And I said, that's great. I never had a letter, let alone a contract. I just figured I worked for the board, and when they got tired of me, I'd get a phone call that said, we're terminating your salary. So it was a very different time.
Move over to the academic piece, and the Athenaeum is kind of a nice segue there. You know, under your leadership, Jack, you founded a number of research institutes. When you were a staff member, of course, the Salvatore Center was founded, but after Salvatore, it seems like every couple of years a new institute was founded. Talk to us about how important you feel the research institutes are at CMC and why you prioritize their creation.
Well, we proposed three, the first year I was president, we proposed 3 institutes. One in international strategic, one in state and local, and one in economics. And they were going to be different from the Salvatore Center. Salvatore was much more a traditional faculty research center. The new institutes were going to be student-oriented. By the way, Salvatore has also changed to that model also, but this was a way to give students a kind of a practical experience that normally was not available to undergraduate students. And it ended up to be a very important part of CMC. And we had the 3, and I think by the time I left, there were 9, but there's even more than that now. But the institutes play an important educational role as well as research role in the life of the college.
And it allows so many students to work hand to hand with faculty members in printed material that appears nationally. And even now we have a faculty member who's writing a book that's hired 2 CMC students that's going to be doing the research for him, and graduates of a number of years ago. So this is just another example of student involvement for preparation for your life, for the next 60 years that you're going to, 60 or 70 years that they're going to be living.
And how did that affect faculty recruitment? You know, I think I've always seen CMC, obviously we're a liberal arts college, but in many ways, these institutes help us operate more like an R1 research institution. So did it help with the faculty recruitment side?
How does this allow CMC to have all these other faculty that are broader than a liberal arts college? Yeah, that's a great question.
The institutes, first of all, a liberal arts college is different from a university. Uh, Teaching is of great importance to us. It's not exclusive, but is of great importance. We value research because it keeps a faculty member alive and active in his field. And of course, we want the faculty member to participate in the governance of the college. So those are the three issues. But the institutes allow us to hire a faculty that wants to teach and also wants to do research. And they have allowed us to bring in people. A faculty member gets time off to be an institute director because he or she is going to spend a lot of time working with those students on a research project besides teaching their normal classes. I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does. And we have Ron Riccio on the call, who of course was instrumental in KLI, the Campus Leadership Institute, for so long.
Excuse me, I was going to say, we tried to start institutes that really covered most of our academic fields, economics, political science, psychology, in history in terms of the Holocaust, the Roberts Environmental Center in terms of science, and a variety of others. So to give all of our academic fields a chance to participate in an institute program.
Thank you. The third decade of your presidency, the 90s, CMC is growing for the first time in a while. So if you could comment on your decision to grow the campus up to that 1,000 person mark, 1,000 students, and how that impacted the campus.
Well, when I became president, the college was 800 enrollment. I kept it 800 for 20 years. I was very concerned about growing endowment per student. As you grow, obviously you get more students, you divide that by the endowment per student goes down. And really endowment per student is the gold standard in terms of evaluating the wealth of a college. So in 1990, the college decided to grow from 800 to 1,000. There were some foundations that were not even giving to colleges that were less than 1,000. So that was one of the reasons. And we said that we would only grow, we would grow no faster than we could keep growing endowment per student. So we grew in the 9 years from 1990 to 1999 when I retired, from 800 to 1,000 students, but we also grew endowment. When I retired in 99, CMC endowment per student was number 5 in the nation. We were slightly ahead of Amherst, and it certainly propelled ourselves up into the top layer of financial strength of liberal arts colleges.
And Jack, I think your decision to always be very fiscally minded in your decisions helped put CMC on the map where it is today. We are a very fiscally responsible institution. In part of that growth, you started a very large capital campaign in the 90s, which I think ended with about $135 million. So talk a little bit about yours and the board's decision to embark on this very large campaign at the same time that you're growing the institution.
Well, it was one of the biggest small liberal arts college numbers in the country at the time. Now, compared to the amount of money they raised, it sounds kind of anemic. But we started that. We were confident we could do it. Actually, the institutes helped us raise money because we would not start an institute unless we could fund it. So they were a source of also fundraising. the goal was to be over in the year 2000. We reached our goal in 99, and I was 64 years old. I thought that this was a good time to retire. It would let a new president come in, celebrate the end of this big campaign, having exceeded our goal, and be off on a good footing to go forward. So I retired in 99. Things were going very well for CMC. It was a great experience. And I think it was time to bring in someone to celebrate the next life of the college.
So Jack, were you originally thinking you'd retire summer of 2000, but because the campaign went so well that you retired a year earlier?
No, I retired in 99. The campaign went on to 2000. It exceeded its goal, but the new president then could celebrate that success. And that gave the new president, I thought, kind of a head start. I retired with somebody I should mention. Barbara Condit was my chief assistant for all the years I was president. She was terrific. Let me give you an example. I had a computer, but I decided I would not answer the computer myself. I would have Barbara do it. So I would somebody would contact me and I'd think, Jesus, this is ridiculous. So I'd dictate a memo and Barbara would come in and say, President Stark, this is a very good answer, but I suggest we wait till tomorrow till we send this. The next day I would read it and say, oh my God, I don't want to say that. So she saved me a lot of time from making big mistakes. She was terrific. And she and I both retired the same year.
A good reminder
that when Barbara told Jack she was planning to retire, he went, oh, I'm going with you.
A good reminder that maybe we should all hold on some of those emails for 24 hours, just in case. So you'd mentioned, Jack, the importance of endowment. And I think one of your legacies is the strong fiscal health of the college. Talk a little bit about growing the endowment over the years. How difficult was it to do that?
Well, look, I was very penurious, tight, cheap, whatever word you want to use. The staff was much smaller. I traveled, I did not travel first class or business. I traveled tourist. I remember one time coming back, Jil and I had gone to New York and we had a stopover in Chicago. And we see the head of the Black Studies Center for the Claremont Colleges. He gets on first class, Jil and I get on tourist. I mean, that was just the way I thought. Ellen Heslop, who was my dean of faculty at one point, described me as Scrooge. And I was probably a little too tight. But it allowed us to build endowment, and endowment is an important thing to ensure the future of the college.
Absolutely. Was there anything for either of you across your 29 years, 29-year presidency that you didn't accomplish or you didn't get to do that you wish you had? Anything that just couldn't happen, whether it's for timing or money or?
The college started these overseas groups where they would visit a different country. Mostly it was people who lived overseas. And I just loved going to them. But it cost, to send us there. And Jack would say, no, no, this
We
is
went
something,
every other year.
this is something we should only do every other year. And I remember an alum writing and saying, I've heard that, but we want Jil to come anyhow, even if Jack doesn't. So, but we still only went every other year, and I never went on my own. But no, those travel abroad trips were just, you go to a country and a town, and there'd be a great alum that knew everything about it. Maybe had even been born or grown up there. And that was the best. I wish we did that every year, honey.
We started CMC's Study Abroad program. We studied at first with Franklin College
In Lugano, Switzerland.
in Lugano, Switzerland. Harry McMahon was one of the first students to go on that. And he and his buddy Kevin McNeely, another CMC graduate, went to Lugano. And it was one of their birthdays on the airplane. And they said that, and they got a free drink of champagne. So every time those two guys went out to dinner, they told the waitress it was one or the other of their birthdays. And they got all kinds of free drinks all through Europe.
And they were adorable too. Oh, God.
But Lugano and CMC survived Harry and Kevin's semester abroad.
Well, very, very good stories. What, for both of you, what is your proudest accomplishment over your time at CMC?
What's yours?
What's that?
Your proudest accomplishment.
There is no one issue that is my proudest accomplishment. I'm just proud of the college. It has done immensely well. We had the opportunity to lead it during a time of significant change in higher education. We stayed true to its founding mission. There's a lot of aspects of leadership. Part of it is the right person at the right time. I think being an alumnus helped me make a lot of these changes. I think at this stage, I would not be the right person to be the head of the college. So I'm just proud of the college. I'm proud of all of it. There's no one single thing that I want to talk about.
I just had such a good time. And when Jack became president, I was pregnant with our fourth child, and our kids grew up not living on the campus. We really wanted to be in our own neighborhood and not have them, but on the campus a lot. But they went to lots of sports events and lots of great talks. And all of our children still, well, our oldest lives in San Francisco with her husband, but all our three children, they're married, all of their grandchildren, they all live in Claremont. They're all part of the Claremont community. And even our married grandchildren have bought homes or are renting homes in Claremont. So that's a family of 20.
In fact, our daughter is mayor of Claremont.
She is.
Oh, our youngest daughter.
She is.
That's a story. But no matter what, she's the mayor of Claremont now. And so we're just so lucky. I mean, for a girl who grew up in China and did not have a good beginning, I'm just the luckiest person that ever lived. And I know it. And I just love being part of CMC. It was a big part of our life. Our children still think John Ferranda is one of the kids, and that the college was our fifth child. But
Yeah.
They're happy and we're happy.
And we're so happy that you stay involved with the college as well. You don't always get the emeriti presidents or even emeriti faculty too who stay so engaged, and you to have so much history and such an incredible commitment. So thank you both. Liddell Payne submitted a question in advance. Liddell would like to know about, Jack, your relationship with President Benson before and during your presidency. How was that dynamic?
Well, George was a hands-on dramatic leader. I got along with George very well, but there was no question who was president. When I became president, George came back and he headed the Salvatore Center for a while, and then he had an office at the college for quite some time. George could be challenging at times for me. When we went through the Coed issue and the changing of the name, there would be an issue where he would say, "This professor you have of ethics is not even a Christian. How could you hire somebody like that?" And his wife would say, "George, you hired that professor and you gave him tenure." So Mrs. Benson was a very big aid to me as we moved along.
We had
we love the Bensons,
Yeah.
and we got along very, very well. I'll never forget George and Catherine coming to our home for dinner one night, and he asking our littlest child, "Do you have any pets?" And he said, "Yes. Do you want to see my bunny?" So we go outside, and he shows George Benson his bunny, and George says, "What's the bunny's name?" And he says, "Oh, he's named after my daddy's boss. He's named after my daddy's boss. His name is Georgie." Oh my God. That kids are the best, I'm telling you. But George thought that was pretty funny, I think.
Jack, we had a question in the chat about which Oxford college you were about to go to.
Can you remember which Oxford college? I think it was King's, but I can't remember.
I think it was too. I don't. We never made that.
And it was like 55 years ago, wasn't it, or longer? God.
A few years back. A classmate of Henry Kravis's asked if you could comment kind of on your relationship with Henry and George, and how you kind of worked with them to shape where where the college is today. So how involved you were with Henry Kravis and George Roberts and their impact on your presidency.
Well, I'll include one more of that. I'll include Robert Day. I brought Robert onto the board. I think he was the first person I suggested go on the board when he was in his 20s. And you're pretty soon going to have a celebration of his 50 years on the board. George and Henry were both very, very successful. Day, Kravitz, and Roberts were all in the mid 60s. I had a good relationship with both of them. And I don't know how to go beyond that. We asked them both to come on the board, which they did. And they have been, to say significant donors is to understate the gifts.
Yeah, they have certainly been instrumental, all three of them, in the life and the success of the college. And we are forever grateful to their commitment. And Jack and Jill, you both worked with them for many, many decades. And we're grateful to you for all of that work. As well. It is 1 o'clock. We've hit our hour. I will ask Jack and Jill if you would like to say any final words, or is there anything that we missed that you would like to discuss before we say goodbye?
No, we've had it's been fun to talk about our presidency. So thank you for the opportunity to do it.
We've had a good time. Thank you.
Well, thank you both so much. Everyone, feel free to unmute, say hello, say goodbye, say thank you. We hope to see you for our last CMC Connects program later this week with the McGrublian Center for Human Rights and the director, Wendy Lauer. So thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon and a fantastic